It's already over, and the quietest man in the building just walked out holding a receipt. That's the part nobody filmed. That's the part no thumbnail captured. The cameras were busy chasing an ice sculpture in Toronto. The bots were busy refreshing the stream counter. The loyalists were busy typing in all caps. And while every eye was pointed the wrong direction, a folder closed inside a federal courthouse and a kingdom got reassigned without a press release. No headline, no siren, no ribbon cutting. Just a quiet click, a stamped page, and a man named Kendrick Lamar walking into a photo studio later that week to take one single picture that would generate more cultural electricity than a $40 million album rollout. You missed the funeral because nobody told you it happened. Tonight, I'm pulling the curtain back. Tonight, I'm reading the will. Tonight, you're getting a version of this story the OVO podcast circuit prays you never click on. Lock in. Hit that like before I even warm up. Drop your city in the comments so I know who's riding with me. And let me walk you through what I'm calling the autopsy nobody had the nerve to perform. Picture it for 1 second. A grown man, a self-anointed sex god, a billionaire by every public metric, sitting inside a federal courtroom waving a piece of paper at a judge begging the United States legal system to silence another rapper. Not on wax, not on a burner Twitter at 3 a.m., not in a subtweet, in a courtroom, with letterhead, with lawyers, with a filing fee. That single mental image is the entire 2026 hip-hop story compressed into one frame. And once you actually see that frame, you cannot unsee it. The booth got traded for a briefcase. The pen got traded for a pleading. The verse got traded for a vendetta. And the moment the ink dried, the throne started leaning. And nobody told the king the chair was already broken. Everybody's paired in the same date, October 9th, 2025. Everybody's quoting Judge Jeannette Vargas as calling that exchange a vitriolic war of words. Everybody's framing the moment Kendrick Lamar's lyrics were ruled protected opinion rather than actionable defamation. Cool, carve it, frame it, tattoo it. But there's a second moment in that courtroom story that almost nobody is dragging into the light. And tonight, I'm dragging it screaming. Because buried inside a 117-page appellate brief filed in January 2026, Drake's own lawyers, read this slowly, argued that the district court created a dangerous categorical rule that rap diss tracks can never be defamation. Read it again. Tattoo that one too. The man whose entire commercial mythology was built on the words battle rapper, the man who buried Pusha, the man who looked into a camera and called himself a one-man army, just authorized his own legal team to walk into a federal appeals court and argue that diss tracks should be a legally restricted form of expression. That isn't a contradiction, that's a confession on government letterhead with a docket number available for public download forever. And it gets uglier. Because UMG's response brief, the part the algorithm keeps burying, the part the loud podcasters keep skipping, the part the thumbnail army doesn't want you to read, the label, his own label, the corporation cutting his quarterly checks, sat down and wrote in a federal document that their own client was a hypocrite. That word, hypocrite, in a brief filed by his own employer. Read it 10 times and let it sit. The label said it, not me, not Kendrick, not a podcaster with a thumbnail addiction and a DoorDash subscription. The label. And then they twisted the blade. They reminded the panel, in writing, with timestamps, that Drake himself had called Kendrick a wife beater on wax. They highlighted his bars. They quoted his accusations. They lined up his venom. Then they pivoted and offered effusive praise, UMG's words, not mine, for Kendrick Lamar's artistry. So now we have on official federal record the most powerful music corporation on earth telling a panel of judges that the man suing them is the inferior artist. That's not a beef, that's a corporate report card, and the grade was an F, filed under penalty of perjury, available in PDF. The receipt is downloadable. Go pull it. Then April 17th, 2026, the reply brief lands. They double down, accuse UMG of wanting a free pass for defamation. The bills climb, the credibility tanks, and the only winner of the entire courtroom era has been, say it with me one time, Kendrick Lamar, who hasn't filed a thing, who hasn't sat for a deposition, who hasn't paid a retainer, who has, however, been busy headlining a Super Bowl, collecting Grammys, and making OVO loyalists type his name on posts about sandwiches.
Now pivot with me. May 15th, 2026, Iceman, the 9th studio album, confirmed, marketed, theatricalized to a degree we haven't seen since Kanye filled stadiums with floating beds. Toronto got a giant ice sculpture installation. A streamer named Almighty Pishka was paid to discover the release date frozen inside a literal block of ice. We got Christopher Nolan-style action sequences, custom artwork, zines, mall cameos, academics live streams in heavy rotation, millions of dollars, an entire winter campaign, a stage built for a coronation, a budget that could have signed 3 artists and broken 2 new ones, a rollout that on paper should have shut down the internet for a month and dominated every culture podcast for the rest of the year. And the stage is empty. 2 weeks out from drop date, empty. You cannot find a real conversation about the music. Nobody is asking what the production sounds like. Nobody is dissecting cover art for hidden meanings. Nobody is sweating the feature list. There is no Reddit thread cracking 50,000 upvotes about a track list. There is no Twitter rabbit hole picking apart Easter eggs. There is no group chat trading rumors about who got the bonus track. The only thing, and I mean the only thing fans of his are talking about is Kendrick Lamar. Will Drake diss him? Will he subliminal him? Will the first week eclipse GNX? Will he sample Prodigy out of spite? Will he reference the lawsuit? Every question funnels through one man, and that man is not the one releasing the album. That isn't a rollout. That's a haunting. That's a seance with a marketing budget. That's a magic show where the magician already vanished before the curtain even lifted, and the crowd is still clapping its smoke. And here's the line that should freeze every OVO loyalist mid-sip in their kitchen tonight. The Jam in 101 album preview, a public, official press release, contained a sentence acknowledging that Drake later filed a lawsuit over Universal Music Group over the track's promotion, though the case was dismissed. Read that. The lawsuit is now part of the album's promo copy. The dismissal is now part of the press cycle. The defeat has been baked into the marketing material. The Iceman is being introduced to the public with a footnote about a courthouse loss strapped to his ankle like a tracking bracelet. You cannot sell ice while you're dripping water. You cannot crown yourself king of the north while the puddle around your boots keeps growing. You cannot sell a victory lap when the press kit opens with the receipt of the loss stapled to the cover. Tonight, I'm coining something. I want every culture writer, every academic, every grad student looking for a thesis topic to pick this up and run. The condition we're watching unfold across the OVO ecosystem is hereby named, formally, on the record, Kendrick Lamar Derangement Syndrome, KLDS, and the symptoms are textbook. Symptom 1. The physical inability to refrain from typing the word Kendrick on posts that have nothing to do with Kendrick. A photo of a sandwich, a meme about football, a weather update. The keyboard moves itself. The thumbs file the report before the brain logs in. The man could post a picture of a ladder and the comment section would convert it into a Kendrick conversation in 4 minutes flat. Symptom 2. The unshakable conviction that every public list, every photo shoot, every magazine placement involving Kendrick is a coordinated psychological operation funded by Jay-Z to destabilize the Iceman rollout. Not coincidence, not earned, a conspiracy, always. Rock Nation is now apparently simultaneously running the New York Times Culture Desk, the Consequence editorial board, and the Pulitzer Committee in this fan fiction universe. Symptom 3. The tragic loss of interest in your favorite artist's actual music in favor of obsessing over someone else's career milestones. You used to play Drake records on the way to work. Now you spend your commute refreshing Kendrick's Instagram. That's a hostage situation, and you, my friend, are the hostage holding the ransom note for yourself, written in your own handwriting, addressed to your own mailbox with your own postage attached. Symptom 4. Selective memory regarding the difference between a vocalist and a singer. You know the distinction when it benefits the argument. You forget the distinction 24 hours later when it doesn't. The condition rewires your relationship to definitions in real time on a sliding scale depending on what list dropped that morning and which side of the bed you woke up on.
This week alone, we got 2 viral case studies. The New York Times dropped its 30 greatest American songwriters list. Kendrick made it. The accompanying photo shoot, monochrome, cinematic, looking like a Criterion cover, generated more raw engagement than most artists generate from an entire album cycle.
A photo shoot. A man standing in front of a lens. More cultural conversation than scavenger hunts and ice blocks combined. Then, Consequence dropped its 100 greatest vocalists of all time list, and Kendrick landed at number 20, leading every single rapper on the page. Number 20, above every hip-hop name attached. Drake, for the record, was nowhere on the list. Not on page 1, not on page 10, nowhere. And the OVO response was not to argue, not to make a counter list, not to drop their own ranking. The response was to accuse the publication of being part of a Jay-Z conspiracy to sabotage the rollout. A music magazine sabotaging an album through a list of vocalists. We're not in a fan war anymore. We're in a clinical waiting room and the patients are typing in all caps and refusing their medication. Now here's the part the casual listener has never heard, and it is the single most important paragraph in this entire video. Lock in. Years ago, Steve Stout reportedly sat down with Drake and gave him advice that in hindsight reads like prophecy. Academics himself relayed the quote on a recent live stream, presumably without realizing he was handing the world the receipt. Stout warned Drake point blank, the moment he made Tootsie Slide, he was standing at a fork in the road. He could grow with his audience the way Jay-Z grew with his, the way Nas grew with his, the way every legendary catalog artist grows with theirs. Or he could chase the youth forever, chase the dance, chase the trend, chase the algorithm. And here is the line. Stout warned him that when an aging artist chooses to make music for the youngest demographic will like him, but they will never love him the way they love someone in their own demographic. Like, but never love. Stream, but never sing along. Buy, but never burn. Press play, but never press repeat. Add to playlist, but never add to soul. Save the song, but never save the receipt. Hit the heart icon, but never hit the heartstrings. That sentence, delivered years ago in private, is the entire diagnosis of this album cycle delivered in public. Drake chose the chase. He chose Tootsie. He chose the dance. He chose the gimmick. He chose the bot farm. And in 2026, on the eve of Iceman, he is reaping exactly what Stout predicted, a fan base that consumes him but does not love him, a younger demographic that has crowned someone else as their voice, a streaming empire built on rented attention, paid by the click, terminated by the trend. Meanwhile, the very same New York Times songwriters list that triggered the meltdown also featured a quote from Jay-Z that, if you read it carefully, is the antidote to the entire Drake disease. Jay said the secret to longevity in rap is growing with your audience, making music that reflects real-life experiences instead of pandering to whoever happens to be 17 this year. J. Cole's writing around the Civic rollout, which Academics himself unwittingly explained on his own stream while trying to mock it, is the textbook execution of that philosophy. Grow up, bring the audience up with you. Stop trying to date the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't love you back. It never has, it never will. The algorithm has no birthday card to send when you turn 40. The algorithm cannot show up to your daughter's wedding. Now hold on, because the next part is the kind of cosmic timing no marketing team on earth could fabricate. The very same weekend Judge Vargas dismissed the lawsuit, Havoc and Nas dropped what would be Mobb Deep's final album, Infinite. Prodigy's voice, pulled from the vault, narrated the moment from beyond the grave. Read that again. The purest, grimiest, most uncompromising voice in 90s hip-hop, a man no longer with us, posthumously narrated the exact weekend the genre's biggest courtroom drift collapsed. You cannot script that. No publicist queued that up. That is not coincidence. That is the culture self-correcting in real time. Prodigy, from the other side, signed off on the verdict. Hip-hop from the grave audited the books and balanced the ledger. The ancestors voted. The vote was unanimous. The receipt was published the same Friday afternoon for the entire world to read. And I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't pause on a moment that by itself tells you everything about why Drake lost the war. Recently, on a live stream, DJ Academics, the leading propagandist of the OVO support apparatus, the Big Mac Man, the DoorDash Hall of Fame inductee, discovered for the first time in his life that Jay-Z wrote Still DRE, including Snoop's verses, in 30 minutes in 1999. Discovered, in real time, on stream in 2026, while reacting to a YouTube preview. Let me put that in perspective for the people in the back. That trivia is hip-hop kindergarten. It's in documentaries, it's in books, it's in Genius annotations.
Dr. Dre himself confirmed it in interviews 2 decades ago. And the man Drake calls when he wants to plant a narrative, the brain trust of the entire Iceman propaganda apparatus, was learning hip-hop history live on his own broadcast in 2026. When Kendrick said they don't even know what the smoke is, he was being literal. They do not know. They have never known. They are commentators on a sport they have never watched, sportscasters who have never seen a ball, referee in a game whose rules they cannot recite, judging plays they cannot follow. This is why Drake lost. Not because Kendrick rapped harder, although he did, not because the lawsuit was weak, although it was. Drake lost because the people defending him do not have the cultural literacy to mount a defense. You cannot win a war for hip-hop's soul with generals who don't know who wrote Still DRE. You cannot save a kingdom with knights who think the castle is a brand activation, who confuse a moat for a marketing funnel, who keep mistaking the throne for a thumbnail. Let me speak plainly, because this moment deserves plain words. Kendrick Lamar didn't just win a beef. He didn't just drop GNX. He didn't just headline a solo Super Bowl halftime show, first rapper in history to do that alone. He didn't just collect 5 Grammys, including Record of the Year and Song of the Year. He did all that, yes, and the trophy case is loud. But more importantly than any single accolade, he did the one thing nobody believed could be done in the streaming era. He restored merit to a genre that had been gamified into oblivion. For 15 years, Drake trained the music industry, and by extension the audience, that hip-hop was a numbers game. Streams above substance, dance trends above lyricism, flooding the zone above carving the verse. He turned hip-hop into a casino, and every fan into a gambler chasing the next first-week chart payoff. The art got buried under the math. Kendrick walked into that casino, looked the dealer in the eye, and flipped the table. Cards on the floor, chips in the air, lights back on. He brought back the verse. He brought back the pen. He brought back the radical, almost forgotten idea that words must mean something. He told us on Euphoria, in one bar that should be carved into the side of every rap school in America, that he makes music that pacifies us, while the other side makes music that electrifies us. Pacifying versus electrifying. Sedative versus stimulant, casino versus cathedral. Pin it to your wall, tattoo it on your bicep. That single line is the entire thesis of the era we're living inside. And on GNX, he warned us this would happen. He said they were never going to get over it. He saw it. He saw that no matter how the other side responded, lawsuit or album, ice block or scavenger hunt, the cultural mass had already shifted permanently, and the OVO camp would spend years inside a denial spiral. We are now living inside that prophecy in real time. The prophecy is the show is the prophecy, the receipts are the script. The man wrote the future on a napkin, and the future arrived on schedule, exactly on the date he predicted. No delays, no excuses, no postponements. He refused to chase virality. He refused to release filler. He refused to tour for the bag. He went silent for stretches that would have ended a lesser artist's commercial career, and the silence only made him louder. A Kendrick photo shoot generates more conversation than a competing album rollout. A magazine list placement generates more discourse than scavenger hunts and ice sculptures and zines combined. That is hero-tier gravity. That is what restoring a genre actually looks like in practice. That is what it looks like when the words win again. May 15th is coming. Iceman will drop. The bots will run. The first week number will be loud. The academic stream will declare victory. And then, exactly like for all the dogs before it, the album will quietly slip out of the cultural conversation within 3 weeks, and the next era reset will begin. Another rebrand, another scavenger hunt, another block of ice, another zine, another streamer paid to discover something. The cycle is the product. The reset is the only single being released anymore. But the appeal is still pending. Sometime in the months ahead, the Second Circuit will rule on whether to revive the Not Like Us defamation case. Legal observers across the board agree the appeal faces a steep climb, given Vargas's carefully reasoned, extensively cited dismissal opinion. If the appeal fails, and most signs point that direction, Drake will have spent 2 years, untold legal fees, and the entirety of his cultural capital chasing a courtroom victory that will never arrive.
while the man on the other side of the case spent the same 2 years recording the best music of his life and headlining the Super Bowl. That's the scoreboard. That's the headline. That's the moral of the entire story. 2 timelines, 1 winner. The winner didn't even file paperwork. And remember, while he is bleeding money in appellate court, Kendrick is sitting on unreleased verses, untouched features, untapped collaborations. The man could press a single button tomorrow morning, drop a song with no cover, no track list, no press run, and reset the entire conversation before lunch. That isn't a competitor. That is a sleeping volcano. And the OVO camp is building ice sculptures on the slope, pretending the smoke from the crater is just a marketing fog machine designed for the rollout. So here's where we land. Iceman has melted before it dropped. Kendrick has hijacked a rollout he never even acknowledged. The OVO fanbase has anointed Kendrick as the protagonist of their own group chats. UMG has called its own client a hypocrite in a federal appellate brief. Academics learned a fact every hip-hop fan has known since the Clinton administration. Mobb Deep narrated the dismissal weekend from beyond the grave. Jay-Z handed down the wisdom. Steve Stout warned him years ago. And Kendrick is in a photo studio taking a single picture, saying nothing, dominating the news cycle anyway. This isn't a beef. This is a transition of power. This is the moment hip-hop got its hero back. The genre needed someone to walk in, plant a flag, and say the words still matter. The pen still matters. The soul of the thing still matters. Kendrick Lamar did that, quietly, methodically, without a press tour, without a podcast circuit, without a lawsuit. The Iceman cometh, but the Iceman is melting, and standing in the puddle, in a black turtleneck, holding a Pulitzer, a Super Bowl trophy, 5 Grammys, and the keys to the entire genre, is Kendrick Lamar. The hero hip-hop deserved. The hero hip-hop finally has earned. The hero hip-hop now has on the books, in the booth, in the streets, and on the record forever. If you made it this deep into the video, you already know the assignment. Leave the like, hit subscribe, drop a comment with the segment that hits you the hardest tonight, and tell every OVO loyalist in your group chat, with love and with peace, that it's over. It's been over. It melted on October 19th, 2025, and the puddle has been growing every hour. The mic is up. The mic is out. Long live the king, forever and ever. And the puddle keeps growing wider every single hour.